Hey guys, welcome back to I'm an Actor, Not a Therapist. I'm Sammy. So, what's going on? I wanted to talk about this, and again, I apologize for kind of disappearing on you guys for a few weeks. It's been a very hectic couple of weeks. And as I record this, it's been a very hectic day. So, I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about this idea of our brain going 1,000 miles a minute and us not being able to slow it down. Right? And how do we cope with that? How do we find the middle ground for that? How do we try to slow the brain down so that things can get accomplished, right? Because if your brain's going 1,000 miles a minute, you're never going to get anything done because you'll start something and go, oh, I have to do this. And you'll just go off and do this. And then you'll go, oh, I have to do that. You'll go off and you'll do that. But nothing will actually get done because you'll stop in the middle. At least that's the way it is for me if my brain's going 1,000 miles a minute. And my poor friends, when I try to talk these things out, oh my gosh. My friends love me. That's all I have to say. Um, but I found that talking does help because it makes me slow down a little bit to try to articulate what it is that I'm trying to do and articulate what it is that I'm trying to say. And I think in moments like that, when your brain is just going 1,000 miles a minute because of anxiety, or you're waiting for something, or you want to do something and you're not sure how, so your brain just kind of kicks into overdrive. It can be a very scary, almost, I don't want to say debilitating because it's not debilitating, but it can be, I guess. It's just a very scary feeling of, you're not in control of a lot of your thoughts at that point because they're just going so fast you can't actually grab onto any of them to kind of follow it through, right? So I have found that talking sometimes helps. It also comes with this feeling of this pent up energy that you have to burn off. Like, remember when we were kids? A lot of us don't remember when we were kids, but try. Remember when we were kids and we had all that energy all the time and it just kind of went through us, and, we'd have to go to the park and we'd have to run around. Or, that's what recess was built in for when we were kids, because we were sitting all day and they wanted to, let us loose and go do what it is that we had to do in order to burn the energy off and get that break in our day. Um, that feeling of this pent up energy comes with your brain going 1,000 miles a minute. And so, what the kind of adult version is, or at least one of the adult version things of um, burning off that energy, is something that my friends and I call anxiety cleaning. Now, I hadn't heard this term until a couple years ago when a friend of mine was anxiety cleaning, and it took me a couple, it took me a little while to understand like how the anxiety cleaning kind of worked, right? Um, and that's one way to deal with it. Just, you'll look around the house and go, oh my gosh, you know, this place is a disaster. I've got to clean this up. And then all of a sudden you're cleaning. You kind of put blinders on and you start just cleaning the house, deep cleaning, scrubbing. You start cleaning the house like the Pope himself is coming over. You know what I mean? Um, you just start cleaning the house and organizing, and you know by the time you're done, you're absolutely exhausted because that's where all your energy went. There are some people that do still need to get up out of the house and go for a run or go burn it off at the gym, or a combination of cleaning and gym, or whatever, however you burn that energy off. But as I even sit here recording this, my brain is going 1,000 miles a minute. I have a lot of things that I'm waiting for, a lot of anxiety today, because I promised you guys on this show that I'd always be transparent with you. I'd always be honest with you. Good days, bad days, everything else in between. I would be as honest and transparent with you guys as I could be. And I think this is important to know, that even though I'm sitting here calmly talking this out, calmly recording this episode, um, the 1,000 miles an hour thoughts in my head are very real. Um, and they're very loud. And I just got done folding like a week's worth of laundry. It's not put away, but it's folded. All of my garbage has been taken out. Um, I've at least gotten myself together for the day. I've decided on lunch and things like that. So there are things that are productively getting done, but the energy is still there. The anxiety is still there. The swirling 1,000 miles an hour thoughts are still there. Um, and I'm very fortunate in that I have the time to burn this off. I'm working on burning this energy off so that I don't carry it with me throughout the day. Um, but there are times that you can't completely burn the energy off physically. So then in those cases, what do you do? Well, this goes back to having to ask for help, right? And we've talked about this before, how weird it can be, how uncomfortable it can be if it's not something that you're used to doing. And I'm definitely not used to asking for help. I've gotten better at it, um, but it's not something I'm completely used to yet. But, this morning I did find a minute to verbalize what it was that I was feeling to a couple friends um, that have been ever so patient with me this morning. And it's just a learning process. It's a learning curve. It's knowing that your brain's going to go 1,000 miles a minute because of something. And you kind of have to hang on for the ride, let the energy burn out, because it will. The energy will burn out. It absolutely will. At some point, it, like a candle, it'll burn out. And at some point you will sit on the couch or sit in bed and go, I survived. And sometimes when our brains are like this, that's all we can really hope for, right? Is just getting through the day, getting through that next minute, getting through that next task that we have. And it's no small feat. It's on days like this when you can't seem to stop the static or stop the racing thoughts, it's absolutely no small feat to be able to, stop and articulate what's going on, or stop and realize that you need to take care of something. It's something that needs to be practiced. And it took a lot of growth, and it takes a lot of patience on the part of the person with the racing thoughts and the people in their lives. It also is a matter of, at least for me, having been in therapy for as long as I have, finding those coping mechanisms and stuff in order to be able to do, in order to be able to even recognize when I need the help, or recognize what is going on with my brain when it starts going 1,000 miles a minute, and as I said, it's not for the faint of heart. It's absolutely not for the faint of heart. And if you can't tell by this episode, it's been a very long day. It's been a very long day. And even as I record this, I'm trying to make sure that I'm coherent enough for this episode to be helpful. And I hope that this episode is helpful for you all as I sit here and record it, because, in my mind, if I can at least help people to recognize it, to work through it, then, it also gives me something to look back on the next time this happens. But yeah, that's what's going on right now. It's 1,000 miles an hour thoughts. It's a to-do list that I created this morning that has far too many things on it for its own good. It is thinking that I'm going to spring clean the house all in one day. None of these things are going to actually happen, by the way. Nobody spring cleans their house in one day. Nobody. Um, because that's unrealistic. Um, it's recognizing that in the chaos of the thousands and thousands of thoughts that are racing, there's a couple that keep coming up. And those are the ones I feel like I can do something about. The random background chatter, always happens when this kind of anxiety hits. But what I've learned to do is, through all the chatter, all the noise, find the few couple of thoughts that keep popping up. And I try to address those, because that gives me that sense of control, right? Because if your brain is going like 1,000 miles a minute, the big thing is you don't feel like you have any control, right? And so by trying really, really hard, and it's not easy, and it's something I had to learn through therapy. It's something that my very patient friends and, have sat with me through, and kind of taught me how to do as well, is something that I've kind of learned. There's always going to be those few repeating thoughts. And I take those repeating thoughts and I go, what can I do about these? What do I have to do? Because at least for me, right, all of the repeating thoughts are actionable items. Text this person, clean your kitchen, put away the laundry, get ready for this, stop thinking about that. These are actionable items, right? I can get off the couch or get up from my seat and I can go clean the kitchen. Well, now there's one piece of anxiety gone. I can send a quick text to the person I've been thinking about. There, my anxiety for that part is done. I can put my laundry away. I can clean the bathroom. I can do the actionable items that keep coming up. What's harder is dealing with, in the midst of those thousands and thousands of thoughts that keep racing, it's dealing with the emotions that are coming up with those thoughts. Oh, I'm anxious about finding out if I got this job. Oh, I'm anxious about this audition that I have coming up. Oh, I don't know how this person feels and I'm nervous to talk to them. Or, oh, I've got 1,000 things to do and I don't know where to start. Or, beat yourself up about not doing something you told yourself you would do, or something along those lines, right? For those kind of things, because what ends up happening, at least for me, again, anything that I say on this show, anything that we talk about is coming from pure experience. I am an actor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor or anything like that. So anything that I say is purely based on experience, and what I have learned in therapy, and with my very patient friends. But it's in those things, the things that are not necessarily actionable. I have no control whether I'm going to get a job or not. I have no control over that. I have no control over whether the casting director is going to pick me for that part. I've got no control over that. What I have control over is following the train of thought through and trying to not analyze it, but trying to figure out what the root of it is and see if there are actionable items in that. And if there aren't, if it's just feelings, because a lot of the time with the racing thoughts, at least the ones that I have, a lot of the thoughts manifest as, real triggers, real feeling triggers, which then cause more anxiety because that's where the lack of control feeling comes from. You can't always control the way that you feel, but you can control how you react to it, right? Um, at least that's what I've learned. Um, so you look at something like, oh my gosh, I think this person's mad at me and I don't know why. There's the irrational thought, right? There's that swirling thought. This person's mad at me. I don't know why. What did I do? And you start down, and this is just an example, you start down that road, right? There's no actionable items in that. That's just feelings. And that's okay. I'm never ever going to tell anybody that their feelings are wrong. Ever. I am not in the business of telling anybody that their feelings are wrong. But you can take a look at those things and go, why do I feel that way? Well, this person, the last time we talked, gave me really short answers. Okay, why is that a problem? That person might have just been busy. Why is that a trigger? Why is that a problem? And you take a look at why that's a problem for you. And then you move on to the next thought. Well, I haven't heard from them in a while. Well, could you reach out first? Maybe you haven't heard from them because they haven't heard from you. So go ahead and send the text and see what happens. That's an action item. Sending the text is the action item then. But again, as I said, there are times that it's just purely feelings. And there might not be anything you can actually physically do. But you can take the feelings apart and figure out why you feel the way you do, where those triggers are coming from, and see if you can develop a coping mechanism for those feelings. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. It makes sense in my head, but not everything that comes out of my head makes sense when it comes out of my mouth. So, and I've been watching a discussion in a group that I'm in a Discord that I'm in, about this thought of, the difference between taking a look at your feelings and over analyzing your feelings, because it is a fine line. It's a very, very fine line. But I think that it's also important that you do take a look at why you feel the way you feel about things, especially in moments like this, especially in moments when your brain is going 1,000 miles a minute. Even if you can't address it in that moment, because let's face it, if your brain's going 1,000 miles a minute, there's no way it's going to actually be able to decompress. There's no way that your brain is going to be able to even decide what you want for lunch in moments like that. You ever get so far in your head that you went through the day, but you have no idea what you did? That's the kind of feeling that we're talking about here. So there's no way that in the moment you'll be able to completely take apart what's going on in your head. You can certainly try. I'm not telling anybody not to try, but it's going to be a very, very difficult task. At least it is for me. So what I try to do, if I can't get my brain to focus in the moment, because again, we're not talking about the actionable items anymore that I can take apart and actually move forward and physically do something. Now we're just talking about the feelings that come along with this, whether they're from the action items or whether they're the background noise that keeps repeating itself, right? It's very difficult to deal with those emotions and thoughts in the moment. So what I normally wind up doing is just kind of making a note, make a mental note of what the feelings are. What is the anxiety saying? Kind of make a note of the feelings, make a note of the things that are coming up that are not things you can actually do anything actionable about. And when your brain is more focused, pull one or two of those things and take a look at it and see where you land with it. You might find that in these moments of complete and utter chaos in your brain, your brain is trying to tell you something. You know what I mean? Never forget, at the end of the day, your brain's main focus is to protect you from yourself. That's really what our brains are for. Protect you from yourself. So in the moment of 1,000 thoughts a second or 1,000 thoughts a minute, your brain is not going to let you try to dissect what you're feeling. But when your brain is quiet, you can take the feeling apart and you can figure out why it came up and where it's going to land, and if it comes up again, how to get through the feeling in the minute. It's not a comfortable feeling. Having your mind race 1,000 miles a minute is not a comfortable feeling. It is a very out of body. It is a very disconnecting feeling. And on a personal level, it's something that I've been kind of dealing with a lot lately. And especially today. But I think it's important that even if you do have days like this, it's important to know how you move forward from that. How you take those moments and you turn them into something that in the future could be productive for you. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, that's what's kind of been on my racing mind today. You guys, if you liked the episode, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, share, all the good things, smash all the buttons. It really does help in this world. And join in on the conversation. We have an Instagram, we have a YouTube now, so join in on the conversation. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. But until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will see you all next time. Have a great day.